Welcome to Blenderism. Glad to welcome you. Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well and are in the mood to dive into the world of Blenderism, since today I decided to update my logo a little and record a new training video for you for all this. Well, let's get started. The first thing you need to add is, what do you think? No, it's not a cube, haha. This is a cylinder. It will serve us as a ritual table or something similar. Now we throw bevel and shade smooth on this cylinder. And part of our table is ready. It will be made of stone, but we will not take the easy way, we will create it ourselves. But for you it will not take long, since I will simply show you the node system that needs to be compiled in order to make the stone material. We will use Voronoi and noise textures, mix them, connect normals. That is, you can make yourself a print screen and then insert it into Blender as a reference or just press pause. There is nothing complicated here. Next, you need to make an old Slavic symbol that will create an ancient mood for us, since in ancient times people most likely also modeled, duh. I looked, it is connected with the sun, that is, no barbaric things. No sacrifices. It's just an out Blenderism. I downloaded it as a reference on the internet, pressing the one button on the numpad in order to look exactly at an angle of 90 degrees, we add our photo to the scene. Now when the example is in front of our eyes, we simply begin to extrude the plane using the E button. Sometimes we have to connect the vertices and fill the faces using the F button, which means fill. We make the lower part in order to then simply mirror the second half. Do not forget to create the correct and stress-free hermeticity. If you don't mind, I will speed it up this part. I try to do it comfy for you, and while I have chance to say some, I want to say that. If you have any questions or suggestions, write in the comments. This is our way of communicating. Vertices, the most basic part of a mesh is a vertex, plural vertices, which is a single point or position in 3D space. Vertices are represented in the 3D viewport in edit mode as small dots. The vertices of an object are stored as an array of coordinates. Do not mistake the origin object for a vertex. It may look similar, but it is larger and cannot be selected. Edges, an edge always connects two vertices with a straight line. Edges look like wires when you look at the mesh in wireframe mode. They are usually not visible in the render. Edges are involved in constructing faces. Faces form the actual surface of the object. They remain visible when the mesh is rendered. If an area does not contain a face, it will be transparent or absent from the rendered image. A face is formed between 3, triangle, 4, quadrilateral, or more, n-gon, vertices with edges on each side. Such faces are often abbreviated as tris, quads, n-gons. Okay, let's slow down the video. Let's take a closer look here. Our lower part is ready, now we need to apply the mirror modifier to reflect it vertically. To make this modifier work correctly, we gonna use origin of geometry as mirror point. So we need to set it to 3D cursor, right click and set origin to 3D cursor. Whoosh, and we have second part. To set the thickness, go to edit mode by pressing Tab, select all the vertices by pressing A and then the E button to extrude the faces. And use Ctrl 1 to subdivide. You also need to subdivide it again and add ribs along the edges to have a nicer shape. So, another stage is passed. It is good to solve the questions one by one. As we can see, a certain wavy base serves as the basis of this drawing. In order to create it, we take a circle and immediately go to the menu at the bottom left and set a larger number of vertices. We do this in order to add a grid inside the circle in the next step. We will make waves thanks to this. We throw in the displacement modifier. We apply the cloud texture. We reduce the force of impact. As we can see, there are few divisions, so we repeat the procedure. And again we reduce the force of impact and apply shade smooth. Okay, admire your work a little and adjust the sizes so that the parts match each other. But here I made a small mistake. I didn't check the box next to the clipping option. It serves to ensure that two parts are connected to each other unnoticeably. I have already applied the modifier and our geometry intersects with each other and doesn't look good. But we are also using this as a lesson and I will show you how to fix it. First, you need to turn on the translucency mode and delete these faces and connect the vertices together using the M button. But there are no responses opposite these vertices, which means the edge opposite needs to be subdivided. Make this circle bigger and okay, we good. So as you see, we confidently moving forward. Using the H button we hide them so that they don't get tangled under our hands, since there will be this thing with petals later. Here, everything is as before, we add a plane and use E to extrude the edges one by one. I will also speed up this moment, since everything is straightforward here. Taking advantage of the moment, I remind you not to forget to click the subscribe button, please. It's not hard. And I am pleased. And I will know that you are interested in what I do for you. Normals. In geometry, a normal is a direction or line that is perpendicular to something, usually a triangle or a surface, but can also be relative to a line, tangent to a point on a curve, or tangent to a plane at a point on a surface. Normals help determine the shading of a mesh and much more. Okay, now we move these points a little to the side so that they do not intersect with each other. At this point I realized that I didn't turn on cavity for you for better visuality. And I changed matte cap material. And as before, by pressing the A button, select all the vertices and extrude to set the thickness of the petals. So we apply shade smooth and by pressing Ctrl R we subdivide the faces along. On the side and on the front side. Well, we need to make a circle that is inside. This is easy. Add circle mesh, go to edit mode, select the vertices, press ES and expand the circle. And as before make it some thickness. Okay, we have all four parts of this part ready. Let's adjust the sizes so that everything looks good. We also need to carry out the same procedure as with the petals, only now in order to select the edge loop we use the Alt button, to select adjacent loops we use Ctrl+ and do not forget to turn on proportional transformation. It is suitable for such editing. Select all four and combine them into one by pressing right-click and join. Okay, another stage is ready. Let's move on to the next one. From this point on, it gets more interesting. Now we will prepare the mesh for using GeoNodes. It sounds complicated, but don't worry. Add a plane, it will be our emitter. And add text. Go into edit mode, write what we need. Now we need to select a font. I advise you to have a folder with interesting fonts already selected in advance. And then we extrude it to the width of 0.5 and make the depth to give it roundness. Transform the text into a mesh. So, now we need to divide our inscription into small pieces, but if you look at the structure of the lattice, it is not ready for this at all. You need to apply the remesh modifier. Set the number of voxels to 0.01b and turn on Shade Smooth. And apply it. As you can see, the geometry is not perfect, but we have a luminous material, it will not be 100% visible there. So don't worry about it. Moreover, you can also apply the smooth modifier by setting the number of repetitions from 5 to 10, and this definitely closes this issue. Bam, and the grid is ready. Now we can use cell fracture and Blender will divide it on parts. In the window, we change only 4 settings. This is the number of stones, noise, this affects the shape of the stones. We set random so that they are different in size and change the split edge to 0.0001 so that the cracks are small. And turn it on so that it counts. My process took 40 seconds, so take your time. And while all the pieces are selected, press M to send them to a separate collection. This is necessary for convenience and for GeoNodes. Now we need to delete the main text or hide it, we don't need it. Well guys, we are going at a fantastic speed. I decided to speed up a little more and took this model in BlenderKit so as not to waste time on it. I think you already have the skills to create one. Moreover, we only need half of it. Try to optimize your scene, use only what is needed. All elements affect the speed of the PC. Go to the material, add color ramp and layer weight. Connect it all to emission and use this HEX code for a bluish tint, or you can choose something yourself, and do not forget to set transmission to 1. Here is another small life hack. If you use a material from BlenderKit, you can download it to your folder and then the program will breathe easier when rendering. As I said, we only need half, so I left only this for the scene. Get a plane, go to geometry nodes. Now everything that's going to be done in geometry nodes, so I'm going to click new here and we need to delete input. And create collection info, or we can to drag in that cell collection. Next we adding combine X, Y, Z to control movement of pieces. Now we can add set position node. Also we adding random value so we can set value of that movement. So now we have everything here. We need to get is a set position node. And plug the random value into the Y-axis and combine XYZ plug into offset. And instances to geometry. And then we can bring This I mean pretty far down something, like this. Now we need to allow these objects to actually rotate, so let's get a rotate instances node. Set material node. And connect them together. Then very important, click on separate children. That's going to allow it to separate all those individual pieces in the collection, otherwise it's going to handle it like a singular object. And choose our cell collection. Well, as it happens, one connector is plugged in the wrong place. But it's okay, we're learning. We change position to offset, and change X to Y, and whoosh, it works correctly. And get another random value, but in this case we want a little bit more control here on these rotations. So we're going to go to vector, and that's going to give us more selection process. Now you can actually rotate all of these guys together, which is really awesome. So we can actually start the key framing process. Look, now they are moving correctly along their local coordinate system, but not as we need. At the moment when the y-coordinate has a value of 0, the letters should be whole, but they are broken. This happens because the random value has a value of 1 rotation. And as you can see, if you set the values to 0, then the stones are collected into a word, and this is what we need. Now we place the word closer to the table and we can start animating. Uncheck local space. As you can see, in general, you need to do several things. Animate the rotation, animate the position of the pebble. At this point, open an additional window with a timeline. Set the slider to the first frame and the vector random value to 20. Then press the I button to add a keyframe and the value of the usual random value to 1.3, and also press the I button to add a keyframe. This will be our starting position, with a light press of one button. And also, my subscribers, I have prepared a bonus for you today, so be patient. This is a cool thing to make high quality rendering. We go to the final frame and perform the same manipulations with the random value nodes, only replacing the values with 0 so that the pebbles gather in a word. On frame 250. And you also need to add a keyframe to the global position along the z-axis. And here you see how the magic begins to appear on our screen. Cool, it looks good. I'm happy. But since we never stop there, we will add even more magic to this process. We will make it look like these pebbles appear out of nowhere. For this, we will animate the scale. Add a scale instances node, and using the same method add 2 keyframes at the beginning and end of the animation while changing the scale from 0 to 1. And let's see what happened. Ideally this is the case when we do not achieve realism, but on the contrary. I have already added 2 light sources. They will need to be placed. In the end there will be only 3 sources, since in the fog they do not recommend many sources, but I will add it, for the effect of cave smoke in the air. I aim a little where to start the camera, how it will move. Okay, now we add empty so that we can set the depth of field on it. We also add constraint so that the camera follows this empty. Now we proceed to the animation of the camera. Here everything is simple, the start point and the end point are set using the I button on the keyboard. We need make camera get to the end point earlier than pi aces get together, so let's set T150 frame as end point. As our camera track to empty, we can easily set end position to the camera. Okay, seems to be good. Let's check what we have here. Not bad at all, I like it. I would better say that we got correct shot from first try. So here is one trick we need to make our camera at the beginning move slowly to see from side how our magic begin to spawn into some kind of tornado and then make some speed up to final position. It's very easy, choose camera as active, we go to graph editor, and let's make camera to start moving, not from the very beginning, we need to give it some time. Human mind usually need around 3 seconds to work with info. So take your time and see how it works the best way. You see at the end I set new endpoint and delete old one. So at the graph editor we hide all the axis, to make them not to bother us, except Z axis we need to work with her. At the starting keyframe we take this side and make it longer to make our camera movement slower at this range of frames. Now you can see on the screen I am showing the render settings that will help speed up the rendering process on the Cycles engine. But you can customize it for your PC, since everything is very relative. Also, I promised a bonus for you my friends, so here it is. As you can see, it's simple denoise setup for Cycles. Then we need to come over here to the render passes and start introducing all our passes that we're going to denoise. The mist position, normal vector and UV, so we need to get the diffuse, we need to get the glossy, the transmission volume, and then any others that we want to do noise. I normally do the emission environment and ambient, occlusion, and as well as this even, though I'm not denoising them. I normally like taking these passes like Z depth. So we gonna upgrade it. So let's collapse denoise node. And using combination Shift D, let's copy it 13 times. So we have 14 in general. As you understand already, we gonna denoise every path separately. So now we need to connect them one by one as shown in video. Denoising image and denoising albedo, we need to plug in every denoise node one by one. So next, when we denoised our image by layers one by one, we need to get it together using multiply nodes. So we need 6 multiply nodes to do this. If you want to see how they look when they did, use preview with combination Control Shift left click. And we need add nodes to put together other parts of image. Combine them like this. And make sure that your file is saved. It could be a little heavy process for your PC. This denoise setup can fix the flickering or dust particle system in your animations. Well, and we will not use ambient occlusion. And this is it. Try this multi-layered denoising in Blender. It's really good. It's gonna help you to get rid from dots firefly. So that's all for this one. As always, I want to say thank you for your attention. Take your time, try different options, learn hot buttons. They gonna make your life easier. Goodbye and pray for Ukraine.